Deep inside the earth, beyond the reach of daylight, a horse runs across stone. Its body is made from pigment, mineral, fat, breath, and intention. The neck curves with impossible grace. The legs stretch forward as if the animal has been caught between one heartbeat and the next. Around it, other beasts emerge from the wall. Bulls gather in their ancient mass. Bison lower their heads. Deer pass through the stone like living weather. Lions move with the silence of hunger. They do not stand politely in frames. They press out of the cave itself. The stone is cold. The air carries the faint mineral dampness of a bedded place. A torch would have thrown light against the wall in restless waves, making the painted bodies seem to move. The animal would flicker. The shadow would breathe. A modern visitor may think of art. The Ice Age painter may have thought of contact. Before temples, before idols, before hymns, before priests in embroidered garments learned the choreography of sacred power, someone walked into darkness with pigment in hand and painted the animal. That fact should still amaze. It should resist becoming a museum label where wonder often goes to be embalmed in small print. The first great subject of art was the beast. The horse, the bull, the bison, the lion. These creatures could feed man, kill man, terrify man, sustain man, and exceed man. They were known from the brutal open world of Ice Age existence, where a human being lived close to weather, hunger, blood, and bone. Yet the animals were painted in places where daily life could scarcely function. Deep chambers, narrow passages, hidden walls, places where the body had to enter with effort. Already, art had gone underground. The painted cave gives civilization one of its oldest mysteries. Why carry images into darkness? There was no need to decorate a living room. There was no living room. There was cold, hunger, clan, weather, fire, birth, burial, danger, and night. Survival already asked enough. Yet some portion of human energy, precious and limited, went toward image-making. Man has never lived by bread alone, even when bread was not yet bread and dinner had horns. The cave paintings of places like Chauvet, Lascaux, and Altamira are among the earliest surviving masterpieces of sacred imagination. They belong to cultures without written explanation. No commentary survives beside the images. No inscription tells what the bison meant, what the horse summoned, what the lion guarded, or what the painter believed he had entered. Prehistory has no patience for footnotes. Humility is required. No one knows exactly what these images meant to the people who made them. Some scholars see hunting ritual, some see initiation, some see visionary experience, some see a spiritual relation to the animal world. A few theories feel persuasive. A few feel like modern anxieties wearing a fur cloak. The uncertainty itself matters. The first images survive as religious evidence without a finished theology attached. They are silent, but they are far from empty. They show that the sacred begins before doctrine becomes tidy. It begins where fear, dependence, wonder, and beauty meet. The animal on the wall is a threshold. The cave is not a gallery. It is closer to a womb, a grave, a temple, and a theatre of the unseen, all pressed into stone. The animal image does not hang apart from the place. It belongs to the darkness, the echo, the torch, the long walk inward. A cathedral announces itself with towers and bells. A cave does the opposite. It hides. You descend into it. The body feels the world narrow. Sound changes, air changes, light becomes something carried, guarded and spent. In such a place, the painted animal appears less like a picture and more like a presence. That word matters. Presence. Much later, religious art will return to this problem again and again. An image can be a reminder. It can also appear to participate in the thing it shows. An icon can become a window. A statue can become the visible seat of divine force. A temple can become a model of the cosmos. Civilizations will argue over these questions with great seriousness and occasional property damage. In the cave, the argument has already begun. The animal is visible, yet more than visible. It is familiar, yet strange. It is natural, yet placed in a setting charged with secrecy. It belongs to the hunt, but appears in darkness where no hunt can happen. It comes from the outside world, then reappears inside the earth. That movement is the birth of sacred art. Look at the animal carefully. The first thing that strikes the eye is confidence. These are not crude scratches made by people waiting for civilization to arrive like a late train. The best cave paintings show command of line, contour, proportion, motion, and surface. The painter understood the animal's body through long attention. He knew how the back arched. He knew how the head lowered. He knew how the flank swelled before movement. He also knew the wall. Cave painters often used the natural shape of stone. A swelling in the rock could become a shoulder. A crack could give force to the outline. Uneven surfaces made figures appear alive under torchlight. The cave was not blank material. It was already speaking in ridges, hollows, stains, and shadows. The painter answered it. That relationship between given form and human hand will remain one of sacred art's deepest patterns. The artist receives a world already shaped, then reveals meaning inside it. A medieval mason will later look at stone and see a saint, a vault, a column, a heavenward line. A prehistoric painter looked at a cave wall and saw a bison waiting inside it. A fine trick, really. The beast was already there. It needed someone with nerve enough to wake it. The materials were simple and majestic. Charcoal darkened the line. Ochre warmed the body. Manganese and iron minerals deepened the animal's presence. Fat and water carried color onto stone. Breath could send pigment across a hand or a rough surface. Red, black, yellow, brown. No vast color wheel, no luxury of endless pigments. Yet the effect could be startling. In some caves, animals are layered across generations. One image crosses another. A later beast steps over an earlier one. The wall becomes a deep field of return. People came back. They added, they renewed. They entered a place already charged by earlier hands. The famous bulls of Lascaux seemed to surge across the wall with great authority. Chauvet's lions move in predatory sequence, their heads aligned like thought becoming attack. Altamira's bison roll across the ceiling with astonishing weight. These animals are often larger, stronger, and more visually dominant than human figures. When humans appear, they tend to look rare, partial, masked, wounded, or strange. Prehistoric art does not place man at the center with Renaissance confidence. The animal occupies the grand space. Man enters as witness, hunter, supplicant, or something caught between worlds. This alone should slow the mind. The first major visual tradition does not begin with the portrait of the individual. It begins with beings outside the human self. In a modern age swollen with self-display, this feels almost medicinal. The first artist did not paint his breakfast face beside a caption about personal growth. He painted the beast that could trample him into anthropology. The placement of these images deepens the mystery. Many appear far within cave systems. Reaching them required effort. The path narrowed, the floor turned uneven. Darkness pressed against the body. Smoke gathered around the flame. The act of seeing was already a passage. Sacred art often asks the body to participate before the mind fully understands. The pilgrim climbs, the monk kneels, the worshipper removes his shoes, the initiate enters darkness. Architecture teaches through pressure, motion, and restraint. In the painted cave, the body learns first. Daylight is left behind. The familiar world withdraws. Then, inside stone, the animal appears. Cave painting should never be treated as an early version of illustration. The image was tied to a setting and likely to ritual action. The exact rite cannot be reconstructed with confidence, but the spatial drama is plain enough. The animal image was made for a charged encounter, framed by darkness and flame. The visible form is animal, wall, fire, movement, and secrecy fused into one experience. That fusion is already a sacred aesthetic system. A person entering such a place would have felt the cave before seeing much of it. The body would register the cold first. The skin would know the stone. The breath would shorten in a tight passage. The flame would tremble in the hand. Then a shape would appear where no shape should be. The animal would arrive slowly, summoned by the eye. This matters because sacred art rarely works through sight alone. It gathers the whole body into an order of attention. A person standing beneath a Gothic vault feels height before he thinks about theology. A person before a great icon feels stillness before he can explain the gold. A person in a painted cave would have felt descent, enclosure, danger, and expectancy before the animal emerged. The cave made seeing costly. That cost gave the image weight. A picture on a bright wall can be glanced at, judged, and abandoned. A picture deep inside the earth asks something sterner. It makes the viewer enter another condition of life. There is no casual stroll past the sacred animal. The world has narrowed around the body. The ordinary horizon has vanished. No sunlight explains the edges. The painted beast appears in a place where the human visitor is vulnerable. Sacred space often begins by making man small. This is one reason the cave still has force. It does what later sacred architecture will do with greater technical command. It changes scale. It changes posture. It changes time. It makes the ordinary world feel distant. It strips away ease. It places a human being inside a larger order. Then it gives that order a face, or more exactly, a muzzle, horn, mane, flank and eye. Why animals? The answer begins with dependence. For Ice Age peoples, animals were food, danger, clothing, tools, and signs of an order greater than human command. Their bodies became meat, hide, sinew, bone, antler, shelter, warmth, weapon, and story. To encounter the beast was to encounter one's own limits. A modern person can become confused about dependence because most of his meat arrives wrapped in plastic, washed clean of terror, sold under fluorescent lights by people wearing name tags. The animal has been made anonymous. The old world knew better. The animal was a power. The hunter had to study it. He had to track its movement, read the ground, know its habits, and respect its danger. A failed hunt meant hunger. A careless approach meant death. A successful kill meant life. In that cycle, the animal stood between man and extinction. That alone could produce reverence. The sacred often appears where dependence becomes visible. A people turns toward what gives life, what threatens life, what orders life, what exceeds control. The animal did all of this. It fed the clan, resisted the hunter, moved with its own power, and seemed to belong to a world beyond human command. This may explain the majesty of the images. The painted animal is rarely casual. It carries weight. Even when rendered with speed, it has force. It is seen as something worthy of attention, perhaps even negotiation. Hunger is never merely physical when a people lives near the edge. It becomes a way of understanding the world. The empty stomach teaches metaphysics faster than a seminar. It tells man that life comes from beyond himself. It tells him that desire must meet danger. It tells him that the world gives, resists, and withholds. The animal stands at that crossing. It is gift and threat at once. Its death feeds the clan, but its life belongs to itself. It can be pursued, but never reduced to a passive object. The hunter who thinks otherwise becomes a lesson scattered across snow. This moral tension may lie beneath the force of the cave paintings. The animal is not mocked. It is not made small. It is not rendered as a trophy. The images often grant the beast grandeur. They show power, motion, mass, and inwardness. They suggest attention sharpened by need and reverence sharpened by danger. A people that kills animals to live may still honor them. In fact, the need to kill may intensify honor. Where death sustains life, ritual often appears. The kill must be given meaning. Blood must be placed inside an order. The slain animal must be more than meat, or man becomes less than man. This is one of the deep beginnings of religion. Religion does not enter human life as a decorative mist above practical needs. It grows where practical needs become unbearable in their seriousness. Food, sex, birth, death, weather, sickness, victory, defeat, and the hunt become sacred because they carry the weight of existence. The animal in the cave belongs to that weight. One older theory calls some cave painting hunting magic. The idea is straightforward. By painting the animal, early humans may have sought some form of power over the hunt. The image could bring the animal near in thought before the hunter met it in the open world. It could draw the beast into ritual attention before the spear entered the body. This theory has appeal because it fits the life world of hunting peoples. It also fits a recurring pattern in later religion. Image and action belong together. A ritual object can prepare the act. A sacred drama can shape the event it represents. A painted figure can make an invisible relation graspable. Yet hunting magic cannot explain everything. Predators appear. Dangerous animals appear. Some species painted with great care were not the main food of the people involved. The image world is richer than a grocery list with hooves. A deeper idea is needed. The animal may have represented contact with an unseen order. In many traditional societies, animals are more than biological creatures. They can be ancestors, spirits, messengers, doubles, teachers, or forms through which the sacred world discloses itself. The line between animal and spiritual power is often porous. That does not mean primitive confusion. It means a different metaphysical grammar. Modern man separates symbol, organism, and spirit into clean boxes. Prehistoric man may have lived in a world where such boxes would have seemed thin and rather nervous. In the painted cave, the animal becomes visible as more than prey. It appears as a being whose form gathers meaning. Strength becomes visible in the bull. Grace takes the shape of the horse. Ferocity gathers in the lion. Endurance becomes heavy in the bison. The animal body becomes a bearer of sacred qualities. Later civilizations will do this with gods. Egypt will give divine force the head of a falcon, jackal, ibis, lioness, cow, or crocodile. Greek myth will fill the world with divine animals and metamorphoses. Christian art will give the evangelists their living creatures. Heraldry will place lions and eagles on banners until every petty duke feels like an apocalypse with a tax office. The cave stands at the beginning of this long pattern. The painted animal may also have belonged to visionary experience. Some scholars have linked cave art with trance, altered perception, and ritual movement between worlds. The evidence is debated, and the word shaman can become a loose sack into which modern people stuff every prehistoric mystery. Still, the basic idea deserves care. The cave is an excellent setting for changed perception. Darkness alters the eye. Echo alters the ear. A torch turns stone into motion. A painted animal seen under flame can appear alive. The wall itself can seem to open. The descent underground can resemble a journey into another order of reality. In such a setting, the artist may be less a decorator than a mediator. He gave form to what the group could not otherwise see. He carried the unseen into visibility through the body of the animal. This is one of sacred art's enduring functions. It makes contact legible. A Byzantine icon does this through gold ground and holy gaze. A Gothic cathedral does it through vertical stone and colored light. A Buddhist mandala does it through geometric order. An Islamic tile field does it through pattern without figural presence. Cave painting does it through the animal body emerging from rock. The medium changes, the hunger remains. The animal in the cave also reveals something about the human mind before writing. Writing fixes speech. Images can fix presence. A painted animal does something speech alone cannot do. It allows the group to stand before the form together. It gives common attention an object. It gathers the eye, the body, and the memory into one place. Oral cultures can carry immense stores of meaning, but the image gives the sacred a stable surface. People can return to it. The young can be brought before it. A story can be told beside it. A rite can unfold near it. The wall can hold what the voice releases into air. This is one reason sacred art becomes civilizational. It helps a group see together. An image can outlast the singer. It can outlast the hunter who first showed it to his child. It can outlast the hand that made it. Over time, the image becomes part of a shared world. It creates continuity across generations, even when the exact words around it change. A painted animal may have stood at the center of such continuity. It may have belonged to seasonal return, initiation, hunting preparation, ancestral teaching, or visionary passage. The exact category matters less than the deeper fact. The image gathered people into relation with something greater than daily appetite. Sacred art is born when form becomes a meeting place. This meeting place can be small: a clay figurine in the hand, a painted horse in a chamber, a carved bone hidden near the body. Later it can become enormous: a ziggurat rising above a city, a pyramid catching the sun, a cathedral vault pulling the eyes upward until the neck complains like an honest peasant. Scale changes, but the function remains. The visible form gathers the invisible relation. The sacred logic of the animal on the wall is bound to a severe truth. Man depends on powers beyond himself, and he tries to meet those powers through form. The animal image shows what man needed, feared, honored, and perhaps hoped to influence. It gave a body to unseen relations between the human group and the living world around it. This is why the images still strike. They are ancient, but their force has not faded into mere curiosity. Their seriousness is recognizable before explanation arrives. The painted animal does not ask to be admired like a pleasant antique. It confronts. That confrontation may be the first great achievement of sacred art. It places man before something greater than himself and makes him look. There is a kind of judgment in such looking. The animal reveals human smallness without humiliation. It reminds man that he is intelligent but fragile. He can paint the beast, track the beast, dream the beast, and sometimes kill the beast. He cannot become master of the whole living order. He remains dependent. This is where much modern art loses the old thread. It often begins with the self and returns obediently to the self, like a dog trained by a therapist. Sacred art begins elsewhere. It faces outward. It receives. It kneels before a form of greatness, even when that form has horns. The cave painter knew the world was charged. He did not need a theory of enchantment. He lived inside it. The modern person may be tempted to pity him as primitive. This is bad manners toward the dead, and worse philosophy. A man who thinks the world is dead matter may build machines of majesty, but he also risks becoming spiritually tone-deaf. The cave painter, with fewer tools and greater exposure to death, may have seen something modern cleverness struggles to recover. The world arrives already saturated with meaning. The animal was not a decorative theme. It was a revelation of force. The animal never leaves sacred art. Once it appears on the cave wall, it begins a long migration through civilization. It enters masks, standards, myths, temple walls, royal emblems, manuscript margins, stained glass, carpets, coats of arms, reliquaries, and altarpieces. It carries divine attributes, moral meanings, tribal identities, cosmic functions, royal claims, and warnings about sin. A lion becomes kingship. It becomes danger. It becomes resurrection. It becomes empire. It becomes courage. The same beast can serve many meanings because sacred art rarely behaves like a filing cabinet. Symbol is denser than that. It gathers associations until it glows, or until scholars arrive and make it slightly less fun. The bull moves from cave strength into ancient sacrifice and royal force. The bird becomes ascent. The serpent becomes danger, wisdom, healing, and renewal. The horse becomes nobility, war, solar motion, and mastery over speed. In this way, the cave animal becomes the ancestor of symbolic civilization. Yet there is a difference. Later animal symbols often serve named gods, codified myths, royal orders, and established worship. The cave animal belongs to a world before those structures were written. It is closer to raw encounter. It does not stand inside a fully explained doctrine. It stands at the edge of explanation. That is part of its power. The animal image also survives because it offers religion a body without needing immediate abstraction. A doctrine can be argued with. A beast on a wall is harder to dismiss. It does not explain itself into weakness. It stands there, massive and silent, carrying the authority of form. This silence is not emptiness. It is reserve. Great sacred art often has reserve. It withholds enough to keep the viewer engaged. A mystery that explains itself too eagerly becomes a pamphlet. The cave animal refuses that fate. It does not tell us what to think in tidy sentences. It trains the eye through encounter. Modernity changed the animal again. Museums moved sacred and ritual objects into secular display. Cave paintings became archaeological treasures, artistic milestones, tourist destinations, and heritage sites. They now sit inside the modern system of preservation, scholarship, climate control, replica, permit, documentary, and gift shop magnet. Civilization has many virtues, but subtlety around mystery is not always one of them. The cave image has also shaped modern art. When artists in the 19th and 20th centuries encountered prehistoric painting, many saw a challenge to the smug timeline in which art supposedly crawled from primitive clumsiness toward modern sophistication. The cave painters had already achieved power, motion, abstraction, and expressive force. They had done so without academies, salons, manifestos, or critics named Clement. That discovery struck modern art with peculiar force. It suggested that art's greatness did not depend on technical advance in the shallow sense. It depended on intensity of vision, command of form, and contact with deep human realities. The first images remind us that sacred art is older than civilization's official architecture. It does not begin after leisure appears. It appears amid danger. The human need to make meaning visible is ancient enough to belong to the species before cities, states, and written law. Man did not wait to become comfortable before making sacred images. Comfort may even be overrated as a source of greatness. Too much of it, and the soul begins arranging throw pillows around its own decline. The afterlife of the cave animal also warns against reducing art to ornament. In the modern world, art is often treated as decoration, self-expression, market asset, political signal, personal therapy, or cultural accessory. Each of these may contain some truth. None reaches the cave. The animal on the wall reveals an older function. Art mediates between visible and invisible realities. It teaches the eye to perceive a charged world. It gathers a community before a form that exceeds ordinary use. It marks the boundary between daily survival and sacred order. This is why sacred art can survive long after its original rite has vanished. The exact meaning may be lost, but the form still carries pressure. That pressure is felt before analysis catches up, trotting behind with spectacles in hand. A painted horse in a cave can still quiet a modern person. That fact deserves respect. Part of this quieting comes from recognition. The viewer knows, even across tens of thousands of years, that the image was made with seriousness. The painter was not playing in the trivial sense. He may have been experimenting, learning, teaching, praying, invoking, remembering, or preparing. The surviving result carries gravity. That gravity is the basis of all later sacred art. When a culture builds a shrine, paints an icon, gilds a manuscript, sets gemstones into a chalice, or raises stone into a vault, it follows the old impulse in grander form. The impulse says that the invisible cannot remain entirely invisible. It must touch matter. It must take shape. It must be seen, carried, entered, sung, or worn. Religion without form becomes thin very quickly. It turns into opinion, ethics, or private mood. Sacred art prevents that thinning. It thickens belief into the world. It gives faith weight, color, gesture, and place. The cave animal is the first surviving sign of that thickening. It shows that man's religious life did not begin as an idea floating above the world. It began with stone, pigment, body, and beast. The sacred entered perception through a wall. It came with the smell of smoke and mineral damp. It appeared where daylight failed. This is why the cave remains so important. It corrects the modern habit of placing religion in the mind alone. Belief has always wanted matter. It wants a body. It wants ritual space. It wants image. The first animal on the wall gives it one. The first image is an animal in darkness. Sacred art does not begin as decoration added to life after the serious matters are settled. It begins as one of the serious matters. It begins when human beings face a world of hunger, death, beauty, terror, and unseen power, then answer with form. The cave painter did something astonishing. He took the animal that ruled the open plain and carried it into the hidden earth. There, by flame and mineral, he made it present again. He gave visible shape to dependence, fear, gratitude, reverence, and wonder. The result was a painted beast, but also something larger, the first great sign that man cannot live in a world without sacred images. He must see what he serves. Stand once more in the cave. The torch moves. The stone glows. The animal waits on the wall, older than kings, older than scripture, older than the city, older than the museum that now tries to explain it with a plaque the size of a sandwich. For a moment, the distance collapses. There is the beast. There is the darkness. There is the human hand. A creature of flesh once faced a creature of paint, and between them opened a path that would lead to temples, idols, icons, manuscripts, cathedrals, altarpieces, mosaics, shrines, and screens. Every later sacred image belongs somewhere along that path. The first step was taken underground. The cave gave man darkness. The animal gave him majesty. The hand gave both a visible form. And there, in the flicker between them, sacred art begins.
Join us again for the grand vision.